How could a potential President Harris top him?
Well, I think she, number one, supported everything that the president did as far as the relief plan, as far as the infrastructure bill, as far as placing good qualified judges in the circuits across the country, and he tried to build upon the economy. Now, clearly there is more work to do, and I think that Kamala Harris understands that, and she wants to build upon the successes that President Biden and Kamala Harris have had, and we're supporting that. We're supporting that 100%. I came from a convention last week, as you stated. We had 4,000 delegates there, and we had Governor Walz talk about, number one, the fact that he is one of us. He's from a union. He was a teacher. He understands the issues that working people deal with every single day. Kamala understands those issues as well. She's a public servant. She was a public servant in California. So we relate to their experience, and they relate to our experiences. And we look forward to working with them. We look forward to them building upon the successes of the Biden administration, and we're going to continue to move forward.
Well, I've been hearing a lot, Lee, about organized labor on the Republican side of this campaign as well. At the RNC last month, the vice presidential nominee, Senator J.D. Vance, talked about this and had this to say about the campaign's effort to win over organized labor. Let's listen.
We need a leader who fights for the people who built this country. We need a leader who's not in the pocket of big business, but answers to the working man, union and non-union alike. A leader who won't sell out to multinational corporations, but will stand up for American companies and American industry.
Lee, you're going to be speaking to the delegates at this convention tonight. What's your response to the Trump-Vance ticket?
Well, let me just add to what J.D. Vance was saying. We need a leader. We need a leader that is going to support working families. They are not the leaders that will support working families. Let's be clear about that. They have not done it. Trump didn't do it when he was in the office. He is not doing it now. As a matter of fact, last week he talked about firing striking workers. That's nonsense. That's unbelievable. We need to have a president and a vice president who wants to sit down, broaden that table, work with unions, work with working families to deal with the issues that confront them every single day, whether it's putting food on the table, whether it's health care, whether it's retirement security, whether it's putting more money into public services across the country. They have done that over the past 4 years, and they're going to build on that record and do more.
Well, as you talk about the idea of putting food on the table, we do know that this election very much is about the economy and about the costs that everyday people, union workers or otherwise, are facing. There has been criticism among economists and those we follow here at Bloomberg, sir, about the economic policy proposals that Harris has put forward within the last week, suggesting that some of them may, in fact, be inflationary. Do you have any concerns about anything you've heard on her economy ideas thus far?
I think that she's putting forth ideas. Those ideas are going to have to be discussed. We're going to have to be talking to her about it. But she has a desire, a clear desire, to support working families across the country. And you just flesh out those ideas. And that's something that President Biden did as well. He talked with unions. He talked with our members. He talked with working families across the country. And he developed programs around those conversations that he had. Donald Trump has never talked directly to a working family, or he never cares. He doesn't care about the plight of working families across the country. He cares about big business. He cares about corporations who are taking advantage of working families. And we've got to deal with this, and we're dealing it in a way where we're mobilizing and educating and organizing our people across the country, and every single union is doing the same, and we're communicating with our members. We're communicating with our communities, and we're telling them that we have got a good start with the Biden administration, but there's still more work to do. And Kamala Harris will carry that torch along with Tim Walz.
Well, Lee, you're not the only one speaking tonight from organized labor. Shawn Fain from the UAW will be addressing the delegates as well. Donald Trump went to Michigan to speak to UAW members, knowing that about a third of them voted for Trump in 2016. What's your message to them? What don't they get?
Well, first of all, let's be clear that Donald Trump did not go to Detroit and he spoke to UAW members. Those were not members he spoke to. Most of them were in a non-union plant. They brought those workers in, and he talked to them. The person that supported that strike was President Biden, where he went to the picket line, and he walked that picket line. As a matter of fact, I was there a couple of days later. He walked that picket line to show support for those workers and demanded that they have justice and respect on the job. He did that. The team of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did that. Trump had nothing to do with that at all. Now, I just wanted to clarify that. Everything that Trump talks about is anti-worker, it's anti-union, and we've got to hold him accountable to that. Everything that has been done in this present administration has been to support working families, to support the unions that represent them, to support our communities across the country, to improve their lives every single day. Whether it's been lowering healthcare costs, whether it's been the infrastructure program, student loan reductions, taking away that burden from people that are covered under debt for so long. He has dealt with those kinds of issues, but there needs to be more done. Make no mistake about it, but they're on the right track. If you had a Donald Trump in office, he would take all of that away and he would move backwards.